Please welcome back Kira Finkenberg.
5,816 days ago, my life changed forever. It marked a critical turning point and profoundly impacted the connection I have to my Jewish faith. It's also the moment my Federation story began. As you know, I'm Kira, a proud sixth-year from right here in San Diego. It all starts with my parents back in the 70s. My parents were born and raised in very Jewish Brooklyn, New York. But when they got pregnant with my brother Josh, they decided they wanted to raise a family somewhere else. My dad likes to say it was an excellent idea, poorly executed when they chose Albuquerque, New Mexico. Let me just say, there is a reason they filmed Breaking Bad there. But it was a great place to grow up, and I wouldn't change a thing about my childhood. That includes my parents getting divorced when I was 7 years old. Even though I was young, I sensed it was for the best, and it was. My brother and I were lucky, though. Our parents showed strength and grace. I learned so much from both of them, and life continued to keep us on our toes. Like when I was 12 years old, my dad sat us down and told us that we had an older half-sister from a previous marriage. The news surprised us at first, but Jenny ended up moving to Albuquerque, and we formed an amazing brother-sister-sister bond for life. We shared our Jewish heritage, yet my sister was raised in a much more religious home, which transformed from Orthodox to conservative to Reform to even Jews for Jesus for a short stint. I didn't know it then, but Jenny's faith would help me draw closer to my own faith later in life. And then there was my mom. At 4 feet, 10 inches tall, she was a small but mighty woman. My mom was an underpaid school teacher who wouldn't let any of her kids, biological, adopted, fostered, or her students want for anything. Teaching was her lifelong passion. There were times that we had no electricity, but my mom was sure that we had the uniforms we needed. She even became the chief umpire of the Little League, so we could play for free when she couldn't afford it. She was as caring and tenacious as moms come. She was also the purest soul I've ever known. She was passionate about working with children with behavioral disabilities, physical disabilities. The stories of these kids would break your heart. Each of them having to endure the horrors of abuse, broken homes, and addicted parents. My mom believed every child deserved a chance and deserved to be loved. She didn't give up on anyone, ever. Back in 1995, one of her former students ran away from home. He traveled over 200 miles on foot and went straight to my mom's house. He knocked on the door and with a very shaking voice asked, "Judy, will you be my mother? You're the only person that's ever loved me." Keep in mind, this was 10 years after he was her student. She did indeed adopt Sean and another brother and countless foster children that she took in after my brother and I left home. She did everything and anything she could to make sure kids around her were taken care of. I'm so proud to call her my mom. My parents were both Jewish, yet my brother and I did not grow up in a religious environment. We never went to temple, we never had bar bat mitzvahs. In our high school of about 1,500 people, I think there were maybe 10 Jewish kids. We got a lot of grief for being Jewish. My brother got into fights, we were called names, we had pennies thrown at us. We had our first dose of anti-Semitism at a young age, even though we didn't know it at the time. But my mom would come in and share the stories of Judaism to our classmates year after year nonetheless. If our school was teaching the story of Christmas, you know my mom was there teaching the story of Hanukkah, even though we had a Christmas tree in our house. I really cherish the memories of my mom making latkes with my class. My family may not have been classically religious, but these early traditions were established as a family are the ones I continue to hold dear to this day. I then came to San Diego for college and have never left. I bought my first house, I started my own business. My life was going great. Then came December 1st, 2005, 5,816 days ago. My dad's ex-girlfriend, Netta, who had become very close to my mom, called me. She told me she had found my mom dead. My mom had gone to sleep and never woke up. She was only 58. That week, my family flew into Albuquerque from around the country to mourn the loss of my mom. We were foggy, dazed, confused. She hadn't written a living will or trust, so it was up to my brother and I to make the best decisions, and we didn't even know where to start. My sister suggested we call the local Jewish Family Service, run by the Jewish Federation of New Mexico. We called, and they were so incredibly helpful in making sure we had the help we needed to honor my mom. Looking back, that call is why I'm with you all today. The first thing they did was activated the Hever Kadisha. They sent ladies to do the tahara, the cleansing of the body. They then provided a shmira to guard the body. Then they worked with my brother and me to find the right person to lead her memorial service. We held her memorial at the elementary school she taught at for over 20 years. We know she wouldn't have wanted it any other way. The weeks following my mom's death were some of the hardest of my life. She was such an amazing woman, and she gave back so much to the world. In her legacy, I wanted to find a way to give back. But where would I start? The first place I thought to turn was Jewish Family Service, given how much they had helped my family get through such a difficult time. I connected with JFS of San Diego, and my involvement with the Jewish community had begun. This community building journey and ever-deepening connection to my faith is integral to who I am today. At JFS, I got involved first with their Emerging Leaders Program, then their Jewish Advocacy Fellowship, and now I serve on their board. But in 2015, I was invited by the Jewish Federation of San Diego to join their next-gen trip to Berlin and Israel. This trip truly changed my life. I learned about the fantastic work the local Jewish organizations were doing, and I met some of my best friends. I learned about Cabinet from David Bramson. David shared a vivid story on this trip about his Cabinet experience and the profound impact of this group. I decided right then I had to join Cabinet. I joined a year later and couldn't be happier to have been a terrible 2, thirsty 3, fabulous effing 4, and now a sensational saucy 6th year with my amazing class. I have since joined 4 additional boards. So yes, I sit on 5 local Jewish nonprofit boards: Federation, JFS, ADL, JCC, and the CJC, which is the Center for Jewish Culture, plus a new advisory council called Avodah. One of the best parts of being so involved in the Jewish community is being able to give back. Over the past 19 months through Federation, I was able to deliver meals to Holocaust survivors, like Rose, who was home alone, isolated during COVID. But because of Federation, Rose and so many more survivors that I know, they knew that that Federation was there for them. What they didn't know is how meaningful this was to me. It was an honor to spend time with them and learn about their lives. Even through a screen door, I could feel the impact and the difference I was making. Through Jewish Family Service, I delivered food boxes every single weekday from May through October last year during the pandemic to people that didn't have the money to buy groceries during the pandemic. Seeing families, and especially the young children, get so excited for a box of groceries to show up at their door was powerful. And I know that if my mom was alive during COVID, she would have been doing the same thing to make sure no one, especially the children, were in need. Looking back at my journey since my mom's passing, I realized that if it wasn't for Federation, my life would be completely different. I went from a girl with no Jewish identity to a woman who is deeply and gratefully immersed in the Jewish community. I can't thank Federation enough for being there for me when I needed them most, and for giving my life new meaning and purpose. So yes, my life changed 5,816 days ago. Losing my mom was awful, but it led me to the life I have today and a deepening of the Jewish values that have become so important to me. My mom died at a young age, but don't feel sad for me. I had the most amazing mother in the world. I just didn't have her for long. I miss her so much every day. I wish she could see me here today, here with all of you. She shaped me just as much since her passing as she did in her vibrant and beautiful life. I give to Federation because it was there for me in my time of greatest need, and it is still there for me now, helping me follow in my mom's footsteps by leaving the world a better place than I found it. She gave with purpose and zero fear. I've been out of work since the pandemic began, and my industry just recently started up again, about a month ago. But I have dug deep, and I'm raising my gift by 50% from last year to support my federation, my community, my lifeline. And I ask that you all do the same. Find it in your hearts to give big today. Your donations enable the support of the local and global Jewish community, making our people feel connected, cared for, and more strongly tied to their faith. My mom's favorite flower was the sunflower, so as you leave today, please grab a packet of sunflower seeds to take home with you and plant. Watch them grow. Every time I see a sunflower, I think of her and how short life can be. And I think to myself, if not now, when? And I give more, and I do more. So during your caucus, please think about and remember my mom, our family, and the many lives you can impact with your gift. And as your sunflowers bloom at home, please continue to remember her and all the lives you have changed. Thank you.